What is up, everybody? Calling all angels. With the actual game preview. You may notice that 2 videos have gone up in rapid succession, and that is because I briefly went into a discussion where, I say briefly, that was my intent, to go through the fact that the Women's African Cup of Nations was into its quarterfinals, and all 4 matchups served as qualifying matches into the World Cup. So every quarterfinal winner advances into the World Cup, and then the 4 losers would match up for qualification into the Interconfederational Playoffs next Thursday. That ended up eating like 9 minutes, and so I didn't want to turn this whole thing into a separate. So I'm going to do them separately. Just because I feel like at that point the match preview it is going to be an afterthought. Let me be clear. This is not going to be as long. Okay. Washington and North Carolina. As I was kind of bringing up earlier, Washington is the team who has been most decimated roster-wise, thanks to WAFCON, because they have a lot of players that they would regularly rotate currently competing. And so that means that Washington probably is still operating a little bit on weaker terms this week, and will likely still be dealing with it next week when they match with Angel City. For this one, North Carolina, this is a golden opportunity. They came away with a victory earlier in the week, and this second one would be a chance to gain a few more points in the standings, and they absolutely need that. They need to start getting these 3 points to keep themselves farther away, because every time they play, it's another game in hand for the teams chasing them. So, need to make that road as difficult as possible. What I will say is Washington is going to be a lot more formidable at home. And North Carolina usually puts up a completely flat game. They do have a consistency problem with that, and playing as well as they did against Denver indicates to me they might have some issues maintaining with Washington. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to give this one a draw. I'm going to actually give this one a draw. 1-1. Carolina will look at times like they should have taken the full 3, but Washington has enough of their star power behind them, it's still going to go their way. And at least that they're going to generate a point. Next is Houston versus Kansas City. This one, I am going to just open and say I think KC should take this one. Houston has struggled a bit more in the second half of the season. That said, I still think they'll generate a goal. I think they lose 1-2. Kansas City is also in that position where they're trying to maintain an edge, because they have teams that, with enough games in hand, could still catch and surpass them. And they are trying to keep themselves in the running for a home playoff game, if not multiple home playoff matchups. Because if you can get into the top 2, you're guaranteed in the Cup tournament the quarters and semis in your building. At that point, it no longer matters for the final, because it's a neutral site, or a preset site anyway. But that top 2 position is very important, and Kansas City is still in striking distance of it. So you need to maintain your points, and you need to be wary not to fall out of the running for the top 4, so you end up in all road games. Moving to Denver and Utah, I think this one is going to be, since Denver, again, at home, Utah is sitting in the top 3 right now, trying to establish themselves in that upper elite category. I think they mess this one up, actually. I'm going to say Denver jumps out to a lead, Utah levels it, and it ends up being a 2-2 draw. So I do expect Utah to drop points, mostly because I think Denver has figured out how to get goals fairly early. The fact that they were shut down by North Carolina is the reason why they weren't able to, because the second half came and they gave up the goals. But I don't see it happening twice in a week. I think they're going to focus a lot more on getting those goals quickly, and that's going to be to Utah's detriment. Moving into Sunday, Boston and Portland. In principle, this should be a walk for Portland, especially, again, in the need of advancing their positioning. I am going to go with an upset here, though, because Portland did genuinely surprise me with their inconsistent performances, especially the one against Utah last week. I do think they are going to be a lot more focused, but being cross-country, I don't know if they are able to recover as quickly. I think it takes them another week. And I think Boston's able to take advantage. I think it'll be a 2-1 victory. Boston sneaking by with a surprise win, allowing them to continue to their ascent as they try to finish ahead of their rival expansion team. Okay. Chicago and Bay FC. This one not as big. Bay FC is starting to fall out of relevance to the playoff picture completely. Chicago sitting at the wooden spoon position. But both teams have proven to be a lot more competitive this go-around. I am giving the nod to Chicago in this place because it's a home. I'm going to say it ends up being a 3-2 game. This one I think is going to get crazy. And Chicago cannot keep running into rotten luck with these VARs like every single time. They have dropped a lot of points because of VAR biting them. And I think it has to turn around sooner or later. If not, they're going to be one of those teams that you think of in NFL where like you see them lose every close game and then the next year they start winning all those close games and suddenly they're up at the top of the league. This is going to be a Chicago team that if they can keep building properly, they could be formidable as not a shield threat, but as a team to compete in the Cup tournament next year. They just have to fill in a lot of gaps that are still present, especially in the midfield. And then finally, we have Seattle and Angel City. This one is the time. So as of the standings, I've done a preview of this already. Seattle Reign are sitting at 9th in the playoffs picture. Angel City is at 8th. They are both equal on points. Angel City has the superior goal differential by, I think, like 8 goals. They're also tied with Orlando, but Orlando's already dropped their match. So whoever wins or whoever draws is guaranteed to be fully ahead of them. So looking at this matchup, it is an interesting one because you don't see either team like with a full-on consistency like in one specific area, other than I would say Angel City's goalkeeper is probably the constant in their defensive line. And that's why, to me, Angel City still has an edge in this, even though I would still say having to travel, playing well the previous week, indicating that they might have a slightly off offensive second half, and Seattle just being hyped to be back in their home stadium. They're back at Lumen. I would say Seattle does enough to neutralize the game, but I don't think either team gets a definitive victory. This one is where you can have a 1-1 draw. This is, by the way, if you listen to the preview here, this is also about somewhere between 48 and 72 hours since I've recorded it. So my opinion on it is definitely evolving. I've got it at 1-1 at this point. If you're keeping official track, I'll say go with the original video, because if it's stated in the preview video, that is the official business, any difference makers I have on it. But I'm giving, just based on my up-to-date thought process here, going through kind of where I see the teams trending. And so, but ultimately, all the information just builds on itself. Use all that as a guide as you will. But yeah, I think Angel City is holding on to that playoff positioning. This will be their big draw with Seattle, and North Carolina can breathe a sigh of relief that Angel City won't be cutting into the lead with a 3-pointer, or Seattle for that matter. But Angel City, I think, would probably concern them more because of the big goal differential advantage. All right. So with that said, that pretty much concludes it. This was actually longer than the WAFCON video. I didn't think that was going to happen. In any case, I'm glad I did separate ones, because otherwise that would have been like 21 minutes long, and that was probably too much. All right, so you'll see those. Hopefully you enjoy them both. Enjoy your football. In terms of lives, Denver, Utah, probably, and Seattle, Angel City, definitely, I think. That'll be our potential live stream for the weekend. And with that, I wish you all the best of the week. Go Angels!